Hello and welcome to episode 14 of the Youth Intake Challenge. We're halfway through the 5th season with Dulwich Hamlet. We've had some turmoil in terms of finances and going semi-professional, but let's take you to an update of how we're getting on. And here we go. So you can see in the results, we had a really rip-roaring start to the season. I think we won the first 5 games in a row. Things were looking really rosy. Some of the new players had settled in really well. Some of your old faces, your Guilders, had come back and they were all firing on all fronts. And we were looking pretty solid. We had a bit of a dip in a 1-0 loss at Tonbridge, which kicked off a really bad run of form. I say bad, we were still drawing games. We just weren't picking up the victories like we were before. That continued for a good month and a half. We got knocked out of some of the trophies along the way. So FA Cup 4th qualifying round against Welling away, we got beat 2-0 quite convincingly. FA Trophy 3rd round, we got to Slough and they beat us 4-0. So that kind of recovery into October, November, again we were doing really well. Players like Lamar Hamza were in the team and they started to score some goals. I think he went 9 games without scoring before he broke his duck. Steve Tracy, we'll talk about when we get to the squad page shortly. He had a horrific injury, picked up a broken ankle, so that really impacted us. However, we have bounced back from it. We're on a bit better form now. We've hit the kind of mid-season in the youth intake preview, so I'll just let you just take in some of them results. I mean, mostly positive. Some players doing better than others, but we'll go through the squad and see which players we didn't think we're going to get some games but maybe have, and then which ones maybe haven't featured as much as we perhaps thought they did in the preview to the season. So that's us in terms of results. I won't read them all out, I'll just leave them on the screen, you can flick through them. But where that puts us in terms of the league table is 4th, so we're 9 points off the top, and there's always seems to be one team that just runs away with it. It's Ebbsfleet this time round, who I think we actually managed to beat. They got it in here. I'm pretty sure we beat Ebbsfleet. Maybe not, maybe I'm dreaming. Maybe they beat us. No, we got a draw. We got a 1-1 draw with Ebbsfleet. So they're a little bit away from us, 9 points, but we're only halfway through the season, so you could easily make that back up. Average rating wise, the only place to creep in there is Jake Gilder. He's having a really good season. And Amarako, in terms of assists on the right, he's been a bit of a surprise because I've said in previous seasons he's not quite met his potential threshold. He never seems to really kick on. I mean, Amoako, Gilder and Atienza were all in the same intake, yet Amoako has never really kind of hit the same heights. So league position wise 4th, that's pretty good. I think if we can build on that in the second half of the season, certainly I'd like to think we'll get another shot at the playoffs. Whether we can reel in 9 points to Ebbsfleet, that's down to Ebbsfleet more than it is down to us. In terms of the club finances, since we took the bold step with Dulwich Board to build a new stadium, we flew into the red, nearly up to £1 million. But we've recovered a large part of that now. We're actually not looking that bad in terms of the overall balance. The profit loss this month still isn't great. We've had a couple of cash injections to the board to keep us running, but I think the projection still looks pretty horrific. Yeah, so that doesn't look great. I don't think that builds the picture correctly, but certainly trying to recover to where we were back in the black. Things are looking a little bit better. The squad itself, it's not looking too bad. I have rotated a couple of players in and out just to suit some of the games that came up and some of the injuries. As you can see, Josh Shaft's the latest one to pick up a little bit of an injury. He's out for about 5 days to 2 weeks. Steve Tracy, he's nearly coming back. He's about 2 to 5 weeks before he comes back from a broken ankle. And again, looking at him, he'd played 11 games and scored 7 goals for us. And that's not even taken in the FA Cup. His stats and development have been fantastic. In terms of his progress, he's been doing fantastic. He was up to 4.5 stars before he broke his ankle. In terms of his attributes, again, his all-time stats picking up. I mean, he's major in mental and physical, and only a slight one in technical, but that seems to be a bit of a standard across all the players. But Steve Tracy had pretty much cemented himself as our first team striker. He essentially outscored Oscar Allen in his first season playing in the first team, but he's out, and we've had to cope. We have tried various different players, and I did try Jake Gilder up front for a little bit, who's looking really good player now. When you look at his stats, certainly his mental and physical, he looks a really handy player. He's just hit 20. It's not overly long till he gets to 21. I think he'll be 21 for next season, where again he might kick on a little bit. But again, in terms of his progress and development, his progress took a little bit of a dip. But I mean, he's really one of the key players for this team, and his attributes since he started. I mean, he's got his decision making's gone up by 8 points, which is the leader in terms of any of the players' development as a jump as a whole. So again, Jake Gilder, really key player for the club. In terms of the players who kind of made the most appearances, Chigozie, he is really good in terms of a goalkeeper, and he's got a lot of potential. But when I click on his progress in his development, he doesn't seem to really be improving too much. Like most of the ones have a meteoric rise. He's been playing every single game, and he's not really kicked on yet. And again, in terms of his all-time attributes, nothing really to shout home about. I'm hoping it'll come. We'll just keep exposing him to first-team games. He's going to play every game as we go through the season, unless he picks up an injury. So he should really start to pay back on some of his potential, because that might cost us long-term. Atienza, again, I think everyone would agree who's been watching the series, he's had a bit of a meteoric rise. He's a star player, 5-star current ability. Again, if you look at his progress, again, he's taken a bit of a dip on a come down now, but his attributes overall, and this is where he might well tell me he's had a higher jump than Spencer or Gilder. No, nothing. So 6 is his highest, and that's on his anticipation. But again, a slight attribute increase in technical, but major in terms of mental and physical. So again, that's as you see. The other ones who've played a lot of games, Gene Elsley. Again, now that Ekpiteta's gone, he's had to have an exposure to first team. He's the first choice centre-half alongside Atienza. Again, when we look at his progress and development, a little bit up and down, not where we quite want him to be. He needs to pick up a little bit quicker to fill them spaces. But he has had a little bit of an improvement in his physicals and his mentals, not so much his technical side, but I'm not sure if that's to do with the number of coaching staff. Certainly all the players seem to experience major improvements for mental and physical, but not so much in the technical. So that's Elsley. Ouedraogo, he's stepped up massively. He's had more exposure, building on last season. Again, his progress is really good. He's jumping up. Again, they've all taken a little bit of a dip. I think it's to do with recent form, but his attribute changes since he came into the squad. Again, a bit better in physical and mental, but not so good in the technical attributes. Other ones in there, Cockings, he's come in. We did have Abu Daru last season as our main left back. Now we have brought him into the squad just because I think he's still a little bit better in terms of current ability. We have withdrawn him from the under-18s into the first team squad, given him a couple of games, but Cockings is still that first choice player. He's got up to 2-star. His progress is okay. You can see him on his upward curve there from just playing relentlessly, and his attributes, again, if we take them from all time, nothing really major yet. So he's major physical, but his mental and his technical haven't really gone up yet. So his leadership's gone up most significantly from his mental. His physical in terms of balance and such has gone up, but he's not yet made on his massive potential. Amoaka, we've briefly spoke about. Carl Peterson, I think he is going to be one of the key players for the future. He's just really good when he plays. He's only 16. I don't know if his development jump's going. You can see him on his way up, but I think he's got quite a high ceiling of where he could go. So he's, again, another one of the first names on the team sheet. Nothing really to write home about in terms of development, but I think he's certainly going to play a huge number of games for us. We've looked at Gilder. Jesse Russell's played quite a few games at right back, not really come on. Dean Spence. I mean, everyone wants to have a look at Dean Spence because he's comfortably our best player, worth 200,000-300,000. But again, we'll have a quick peek at his development. I might put the rest to shame in terms of all time, but no, he doesn't. Gilder's still winning with his massive 8 bomb that he's dropped on his attribute increases. But what I would say about Dean Spence is it's more balanced across everything, and he's one of the breaks the rule in terms of he's had a major technical update, so he's majorly improved across all 3 sets of attributes. So that's perhaps why he's one of the best players for the club. The only other player we'll maybe look at is Lamar Hams. He's come in now as the first team striker in the absence of Spencer. His development is okay. It's starting to creep up in the last month or so just through exposure to games. I'd like to see a bit more exposure and development in terms of his attributes because he's one of our quickest players. I think for our intakes that have come through, we've not really had a lot of pace coming through, and Lamar Hams might be the one that kind of helps us break teams down by a ball over the top, per se. The final player that I will talk about in this episode is Dimitriadis. He's played a few games for us. I mean, there's only a few little here and there's across the cups and a few sub appearances, but he's already got 2 goals in 2 first team appearances. His development probably hasn't gone up that high yet. You can see the curve going up, but the problem we've got with Dimitriadis is I think he could be a massively key player for the club, but he plays out on the left wing, which is where Gilder plays, and I can't see Gilder and Dimitriadis getting in at the same time unless you put Gilder in up front as the pressing forward, which again we might do as we rotate the squad around. But Dimitriadis, I think his potential threshold's high. He's only 16. Again, he's got some pace, which is something we really are missing, so trying to introduce him into the squad is really key. The only other development players we've got, which is the under-18 squad. We've got a huge under-18 squad. I've kicked some players back down there because they're not getting so much game time. Frederick's gone out on loan. Griffin's not going to get any game up top. Zane Cooper's not really getting a shoe in on the wing. So because they're still in a kind of 16, 17-year-old bracket, we've dropped them down into the under-18s just for them to get some more exposure to the team through that route. Club vision-wise, everyone's delighted. I think the job was last described as untouchable. The fans are really happy. The stadium build's in progress. So everything's going well from that point of view. Schedule-wise, not much to talk about. It's just league games now. So we probably won't get an update till we get into the final games of the season. And then what everyone hears for really is the youth intake preview, which looks awful. If that's what we get and they all come through with C's, D's and E's, this is not going to be a great intake. I'm a bit confused, and somebody tell me in the comment section who's done this sort of thing before, is all the central midfielders, strikers, everything, C's the best rating, but it's marked as an excellent intake, so I'm not quite sure. Outside of that, hopefully that served as a good update, and until next time, all enjoy yourselves, have a great weekend, and I'll see you again soon.